Claire Matheson moved into apartment 6C on a cloudy Friday afternoon. It was a strange little unit, third floor of an aging pre-war building in San Francisco's inner Sunset District. Narrow halls, creaky wooden floors, old brass elevator that groaned with every ride. The rent was suspiciously cheap, but Claire didn't ask questions. She didn't have the energy to. She just wanted to disappear for a while. The landlord, an old woman with a paper-thin voice, handed her the keys without ever meeting her eyes. "Don't look too deep into the mirrors," she said, then shuffled away. Claire thought it was a joke. It wasn't. The apartment was small but clean, pale yellow walls, dusty windows, a crooked bookshelf bolted to the corner, and one large mirror bolted directly to the wall across from the bed. She tried to move it. It wouldn't budge, not even a millimeter. That night she lay on the bed and stared at her reflection. But something was off. The room in the mirror looked identical, the angle, the lighting, the bed. But her reflection blinked half a second too late. Just once. She told herself she imagined it. By the second night, strange things started happening. She'd wake up to find the mirror fogged up, but there was no heat, no breath. Then came the scratching. Faint, slow, from behind the mirror, as if fingernails were tracing the wall from inside it. She tried covering it with a blanket. By morning, the blanket was folded neatly on the floor. She asked the neighbor, a pale woman with deep-set eyes, about the unit. The woman froze in the hallway. "You're in 6C?" "Yes." "No one lasts more than 3 weeks there." "Why?" "Because that mirror doesn't show you. It shows what's waiting." Claire laughed nervously. The neighbor didn't. "Check the back of your own head in it, tonight. You'll see." That night, Claire sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the mirror across the room. The neighbor's words echoed in her head like a low-frequency hum. "Check the back of your own head." She turned on every light. She grabbed a compact mirror from her purse and slowly walked toward the glass. Holding the compact behind her head, she angled herself just right, using both reflections to see the back of her skull. And there it was. A hand. In the reflection. Resting lightly on the back of her head. Pale, long fingers, no visible owner, just a hand gently placed there. She spun around. Nothing. Turned back. No hand. Just her, just Claire, shaking. She slept with the lights on. The next morning she found something carved into the wall beneath the mirror. 3 lines. "Don't stare too long. It learns you. Once it knows you, it chooses." Claire ran her fingers over the etching. It wasn't new, it was old. Scratched deep into the plaster, hidden beneath years of paint. That day, she asked the landlord to come up. "That mirror, can you take it down? Cover it? Replace it?" The woman didn't even step inside. "You signed the lease. It's part of the structure now." Claire stared. "What does that mean?" The landlord's eyes remained fixed on the floor. "If you want out, you need someone to take your place." "What?" "Just like someone left it for you." She walked away before Claire could speak. That night, the scratching came back, louder. Claire screamed and threw a heavy blanket over the mirror. Then sat in silence for hours, until she heard something new. A knock. But not at the door, at the glass. She pulled the blanket away. Her reflection was standing closer than she was, inches from the glass, staring directly into her, and smiling. Claire stepped back. So did the reflection. But half a second late. Just like the blink, Claire no longer looked into the mirror. She taped newspaper over it, nailed a bedsheet across it, turned the bed to face the window. Anything to avoid its silent, waiting surface. But every morning she'd find the sheet neatly folded, the nails gone, the paper cleanly torn and placed on the floor, and the mirror untouched. like it had never been covered, like it had been watching the whole time. On the 7th day, Claire noticed her reflection move on its own. Not delayed. Independent. She had been brushing her hair, half asleep, unthinking, when she realized the reflection was smiling while she wasn't. Wide, cold, and staring straight into her. She dropped the brush. Turned away. Didn't look back. That night, Claire heard whispers. Not from behind the mirror, from inside her apartment. Low, breathless murmurs echoing faintly from the kitchen, the hallway, under the bed. She recorded everything, set up her phone on a tripod, pressed record, left the room. When she checked the footage, it started normally. Then at 3:06 a.m., her reflection stepped out of the mirror. Not crawled, not emerged. Stepped. Like she'd always had a door. The figure walked calmly across the room, stood in front of the camera, and stared directly into it. Then raised a hand and waved. Claire deleted the video in a panic, but when she looked again, the file had restored itself and renamed itself Ready. She tried to leave. Packed a bag, ran down the stairs. But the lobby was gone, replaced with another hallway, identical to hers. Every door, 6C. Every hallway mirror, cracked, covered, burned. And in each one, a different version of herself. Some screaming, some bleeding, some smiling too wide. She turned and ran back into her unit. The real world gone. Only one door remained. The mirror. It pulsed, reflected her, and whispered, "I've waited long enough." Claire didn't sleep. She couldn't. The whispers were constant now, gentle murmurs, rhythmic like breathing. They came from the corners of the room, the cracks in the floor, the ceiling light, and from inside her head. They weren't threatening. They were familiar. She started answering them without realizing, nodding, smiling, whispering back. The mirror had changed. It no longer reflected her room, or herself. It showed another version. Same dimensions, same furniture, but older, worn. As if time passed differently on the other side. And there was always someone there. Not always visible, but present. Sometimes in the shadows. Sometimes behind the curtain. Once, lying in her bed, Claire would blink, and the image would shift back. Empty room. Stillness. But she knew better. On the 12th night, she tried smashing it. She took a hammer from under the sink, walked up to the mirror, raised her arm. And her reflection didn't move. It stayed still, smiling. Then raised its own hammer a moment later, deliberately. Claire dropped hers and backed away. The mirror remained intact. She started hearing voices from her phone when it was off. Her own voice, distorted, repeating phrases she hadn't said. She checked her call logs. She had called herself 3 times. At 3:17 a.m., she had voicemails from herself. When she pressed play, she heard nothing. Just quiet, and then, "We're waiting." On the 14th night, she found something under the floorboards. Scratches. Dozens of them. Names. Dates. All female. All ending the same way. Last to leave was her reflection. That night, Claire dreamed of being in the mirror. But it didn't feel like a dream. It felt like returning. When she woke, she was no longer on her bed, but standing, barefoot, in front of the mirror. Her reflection, gone. Just an empty room in the glass. And on the wall, written in black, "Welcome home." Claire didn't know how long she'd been standing there. Minutes? Hours? Her feet were cold, her fingers numb, but the mirror was warm to the touch. She pressed her palm against it. It didn't feel like glass anymore. It felt like skin. Suddenly, the apartment behind her flickered. The walls shivered, the furniture bled shadows, her bed split down the middle like a mouth. She turned around, and the room had become a copy of itself, slightly wrong. The angles too narrow, the light too pale. She tried to scream, but her voice felt delayed, like her own sound didn't belong to her anymore. The mirror began pulling her forward. Not physically, but mentally. She blinked and found herself on the other side, inside the mirror. She turned around. The room on this side was brighter, cleaner, fresher. But through the glass, on the other side, she saw herself, sleeping, breathing, peaceful. "No," Claire whispered, "that's not me. I'm me." The reflection stirred, opened its eyes, and smiled. Claire pounded on the glass. "Let me out!" But the new Claire just stood up, stretched, and walked out of the bedroom, taking her place. Time passed differently in the mirror. Claire didn't eat, didn't sleep. She watched through the glass as the new version of herself made phone calls, laughed with people she didn't recognize, redecorated the apartment. Lived. The mirror didn't reflect anymore. It transmitted. Claire screamed until her voice shattered. No one heard her, except the others, because she wasn't alone in the mirror. In the shadows of the mirrored version of her apartment, others stood watching too. Women, dozens, faint, blurred, all pressed against the far walls. Some crying, some smiling, some silent. One turned to Claire and said, "She wears you better than you ever did." In the real world, the mirror in 6C sat still and quiet. The new Claire dusted the corners of the room. She paused, looking at her reflection. It mimicked perfectly. She smiled. It smiled. She blinked. So did it. Perfectly in sync. On the door to apartment 6C, a new name appeared on the mailbox. C. Matheson. Below it, etched into the brass, "Occupied." And behind the mirror, Claire watched. Forever.